At the airport, she whispered, "Don't stroll beside me. You'll humiliate me in front of my companions." I nodded and allowed her to proceed alone. But when she returned weeks later, her transportation home wasn't me. My girlfriend Rosie and I vibrate on different wavelengths. My existence is concrete and authentic. Hers is curated and performed for an audience on a screen. For the first year and a half, this was an endearing contrast. But 6 months ago, she left her steady marketing position to pursue a full-time influencer career. We struck an agreement. I'd handle the primary expenses for a 6-month trial to give her a launchpad to develop her brand. She would use her savings for her professional costs. It was a short-term, calculated gamble. I was supporting her ambition, not offering an open-ended commitment. Almost immediately, her professional expenses began resembling lavish shopping trips, and my tolerance was fraying. The arrangement felt less like a collaboration and more like I was the unseen financier of her solo performance. The fissures were evident. Subtle remarks about how my lifestyle wasn't inspiring. The way she addressed me like a subordinate. This 3-week content creation journey to Europe was meant to be her final major effort before the 6 months ended, and she was expected to contribute again. The airport moment wasn't the first warning sign, but it was undeniably the last. I drove her to the terminal and assisted with her 3 oversized, absurdly heavy bags. As we neared the check-in desk, she spotted her friends, Lauren and Ashley. They were dressed as if ready to strut down a catwalk, not board a 10-hour flight. They glanced at me in my relaxed jeans and sweatshirt, exchanging a look of mild disdain. Rosie halted abruptly. She turned to me not with a warm farewell but with a look of sheer alarm. "Stop here," she said, her voice a sharp murmur. I was puzzled. "What's that supposed to mean? I'll escort you to security." She let out an irritated huff, as if I'd proposed we craft our own cheese in the middle of the concourse. She glanced at her friends, who were feigning disinterest, then back at me. "Don't walk with me," she hissed, her tone low and cutting. "You'll make me look foolish in front of my friends." And there it was, the ultimate revelation. I wasn't a person to be cherished and missed. I was a potential liability to be controlled, a blemish on her meticulously crafted persona. I looked past her and saw Lauren and Ashley smirking. They had overheard. In that instant, our entire relationship flashed before me, but now with crystal clarity, every belittling remark. Every moment I felt like a prop rather than a partner. It all fell into place. The affection I felt for her didn't just fade, it vanished. I didn't get upset. I didn't raise my voice. A strange, almost gleeful calm washed over me. I looked at her impeccably made-up face and simply nodded. "You're right," I said, my tone steady and courteous. "I wouldn't want to do that." I released her luggage cart. "Enjoy your trip," I said. Then I turned and walked away without a backward glance. She stood there, frozen in shock. She anticipated a confrontation, an argument, some spectacle she could later narrate to her friends. She didn't get it. All she got was my retreating figure, growing smaller and smaller. As I exited the airport, I pulled out my phone. She'd be gone for 3 weeks. That was more than enough time. She was about to experience a transformation of epic proportions, and her ride home definitely wouldn't be me. Update 1. The drive home from the airport was the most efficient hour of my life. The petty, emotional side of me wanted to rush home and toss all her belongings onto the lawn. But the part of me that values order and method knew this required precise execution. This wasn't a wrecking ball. It was a meticulous, intentional dismantling. My first stop was the dealership where I'd purchased the luxury SUV she drove. It was a stunning vehicle, and she loved being seen in it. It was also entirely in my name. I walked in, found the sales manager I'd dealt with before, and told him I wanted to sell it back. He was a bit taken aback, but he recognized a good opportunity. By the end of the afternoon, the paperwork was finalized, the car was theirs, and a substantial check was in my possession. Step 1, done. When I got home, the house felt odd. It was filled with her possessions, her clothes in the wardrobe, her products cluttering the bathroom, and her filming setup dominating the spare bedroom. It was a shrine to someone who no longer existed in my world. It was time for a makeover. I didn't just want to box up her things. I wanted to erase her presence. I contacted a premium junk removal and deep cleaning service. I explained the situation. I told them I wanted every item that wasn't mine removed from the house. I wanted the wardrobes cleared, the bathroom emptied, and the spare bedroom stripped bare. I also wanted a thorough cleaning of the entire house, top to bottom. I wanted it to feel fresh again. They gave me a quote, and I offered to pay double if they could complete it by the next day's end. While they worked their magic, I tackled the digital side of our lives. I logged into our shared streaming accounts and updated all the passwords. I went through my bank accounts and credit cards, removing her as an authorized user on everything. I also found the login for the website she used for her influencer business. I didn't delete it. That would be too easy. Instead, I accessed the backend and changed the contact email and recovery phone number to mine. I was now the silent, sole controller of her brand. By the next evening, the house was transformed. It was empty, spotless, and serene. The junk removal service had been ruthlessly thorough. Every trace of her was gone. The spare bedroom, once a chaotic tangle of ring lights and trendy clothing, was now just a blank space brimming with possibility. But an empty house isn't a home, so I went shopping. I bought a new, cozy couch that you could actually relax on. I retrieved the sturdy oak coffee table I'd crafted years ago and had stored because it didn't match her aesthetic. I purchased a new, larger TV and a proper sound system. I turned the spare bedroom into a home gym and a workshop for my smaller design projects. My life revolves around creating real, tangible things, and I was finally reclaiming my space to do just that. Over the next 2 weeks, I methodically rebuilt my life. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in months because Rosie found them dull. I went hiking. I attended baseball games. I did all the things I'd stopped doing because they weren't photogenic. I received a few texts from her during this time. Brief, carefree messages with pictures of her posing in front of the Eiffel Tower or savoring pasta in Rome. She never asked about me. She just sent updates on her glamorous life. I never responded. The final piece of my plan came together a few days before her return. I took the check from the car sale and used part of it to book a trip for myself. A 2-week motorcycle journey through the national parks out west. A trip I'd always dreamed of but postponed because Rosie despised camping. My flight was scheduled to depart the same day she was due to arrive. The day before her flight home, I sent her a single email. The subject line was, "Critical information about your return." The email was concise and direct. "Rosie, as per your request at the airport, I have removed myself from your life. To that end, I have made the following arrangements. 1. Your belongings have been professionally packed and moved to a secure storage facility. The address is 123 Storage Way, Unit 42. The access code is 1234. The first month is prepaid. 2. The car you were driving has been sold. It was my property. 3. The locks on the house have been changed. You are no longer a resident. I trust this grants you the freedom you seek. I will be abroad for the next few weeks and will not be contactable. I wish you success in your future pursuits. Tom." I hit send, powered off my phone, and finished packing my motorcycle gear. She wanted to be the star of her own production. I had just given her a brand new stage, a completely blank one. Update 2. I was deep in Zion National Park, savoring the profound stillness of the desert when I finally turned my phone back on. It had been 5 days since I'd left. The digital barrage was even more spectacular than I'd imagined. It was a glorious cacophony of panic and fury. I had hundreds of notifications. Missed calls from Rosie, her friends, and her parents. Voicemails that, from the transcriptions, were just streams of incoherent yelling. And emails, so many emails. My best friend Dave had been my eyes on the ground, and he gave me the full report. Rosie's flight had landed, and she had waited at the arrival's curb for over an hour, expecting me to be there. When I didn't appear, she had a full-blown meltdown right there on the sidewalk. She eventually had to take an exorbitantly priced cab back to my house. The cab driver, according to Dave, who heard it from a neighbor, had to help her with her 3 massive suitcases. She paid him and he drove off just as she tried her key in the lock. The moment she realized the key didn't work was, by all accounts, a spectacle. She was stranded, on my porch, with 300 pounds of luggage and no way to enter. She started calling me, naturally. Then she called her friends. Lauren and Ashley, who had been so enthusiastic about her glamorous European adventure, were suddenly unavailable. Neither had a car large enough for her luggage, and they lived in small apartments across town. Her parents had to drive 2 hours to retrieve her. Dave said the scene on my front lawn was pure pandemonium. Her father was shouting, her mother was weeping, and Rosie was just sitting on one of her suitcases. Staring at the front door of the house, she was no longer welcome in. The social media offensive began that night. It was a coordinated assault. Rosie, Lauren, and Ashley all posted lengthy, tearful narratives about the harsh realities of relationships and how I had deserted Rosie, leaving her homeless and stranded. They tried to portray me as a villain. but I had already preempted their tactics with our mutual friends. Before I left, I had sent a brief, private message to a few key people. I told them Rosie and I had parted ways, and that she had said things that made it clear we wanted different lives. I asked them to withhold judgment until they had the full story. So when the smear campaign began, it didn't stick. People were dubious. The story of what she said at the airport had already started to spread. Her narrative of being an innocent victim wasn't holding up. The most delightful part, however, was what I had done with her website. Remember how I had taken administrative control? While I was on my trip, I made one subtle change. I replaced her entire collection of glamorous, filtered photos with a single, high-resolution image. It was a picture of the receipt from the junk removal company with the total costs circled in red. Beneath it, I added a single line of text, brand undergoing a strategic overhaul. Please check back soon for updates. I heard from Dave that one of her few remaining followers saw it and sent her a screenshot. Her entire online persona, her business, had been reduced to a receipt for discarding her possessions. She had a complete breakdown and took the entire site offline. The legal threats arrived a week later. A letter from a prestigious law firm demanding I restore her access to the house and provide financial support. My lawyer, a man who relishes this kind of thing a bit too much, sent back a response. It included a copy of the deed to the house, in my name only, a copy of the car title, in my name only, and a detailed invoice for her half of all living expenses for the past year, which far exceeded any claim she could make. The letter concluded with a polite suggestion that if she wanted to pursue this in court, I would be happy to file a countersuit for the money she owed me. The legal threats ceased. The social media posts stopped. All that remained was a quiet, satisfying stillness. Final update. It's been about 4 months since I returned from my motorcycle trip. The silence has been the best part. My house is truly mine. It's filled with things I've crafted, art I genuinely appreciate, and a profound absence of drama. The story of Rosie's return and the subsequent collapse of her world became a kind of local legend among our friends. She and her parents had to rent a moving truck to retrieve her mountain of belongings from the storage unit. I'm told it was a very tense and miserable family outing. She ended up moving back in with her parents. Her influencer career is, for all practical purposes, finished. Her brand was built on a lifestyle she couldn't maintain independently. Without me to finance the trips, the clothes, and the lavish dinners, she had no content. Her feed, once a constant stream of glamorous posts, is now mostly just old photos and melancholic, vague quotes about fresh starts. Lauren and Ashley, her loyal companions, are no longer in the picture. I heard they had a major falling out. Apparently, they grew tired of Rosie's complaints and expectations of financial support. Their friendship, it seems, was as transactional as her relationship with me. I did have one final, indirect interaction with her. About a month ago, I got a call from a guy who owns a gallery downtown. He was a mutual acquaintance. "Hey, Tom," he said, "I'm calling about something odd. Rosie was in here yesterday. She was trying to sell me some of the furniture that used to be in your house. Said she was an interior designer now." I just chuckled. "And did you buy any of it? Are you serious?" he said. It was all cheap, mass-produced stuff with no personality. I told her it was worthless. She got really upset. Started ranting about how you destroyed her life and her career. He paused. "For what it's worth, man, you dodged a bullet. A big, costly, tackily decorated bullet. And that really sums it up. She saw me as an accessory to her life, a wallet to fund her dreams. She thought my role was to stay in the background, out of sight, so I wouldn't embarrass her. She never realized I wasn't in the background. I was the foundation. And when the foundation walks away, the whole pretty, artificial house comes crashing down. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just liberated. I'm planning another trip for the fall. Maybe to Southeast Asia this time. I'm crafting new furniture for my house. Pieces that are sturdy, authentic, and built to last. I'm creating a life that doesn't need to be captured in photos to be cherished. She wanted a life that looked flawless online. I just wanted a life that felt fulfilling in reality. It turns out, you can't have both if one is built on the other. She made her choice at the airport that day. She chose the image over the person. And in the end, the image was all she was left with. A blurry, fading snapshot of a life she used to have.